The Storm That Learned Our Names. In the year 1769, on the western coast of England, there came a storm that did not behave as storms should. At first, it was welcomed. The summer had been dry, the earth cracked like old porcelain, and the sea lay too still, as if holding its breath. When clouds finally gathered over the cliffs of Greyhaven, the villagers smiled and thanked God. Bells were rung. Windows were opened to smell the rain. Only Reverend Elias Crow felt unease. He had lived long enough to know the difference between a storm that arrives and one that waits. This one waited. For 3 days, the clouds hung low and unmoving, black as ink spilled across the sky. No rain fell, no wind stirred. Yet each night, the villagers swore they heard something walking along the shore, slow, deliberate steps crunching pebbles under an unseen heel. On the fourth night, the storm spoke. Not with thunder, but with names. A fisherman's wife woke screaming, certain she had heard her dead husband calling from the sea. A child ran from his bed, weeping that his mother, buried the previous winter, had whispered to him through the walls. The voices were gentle, familiar, loving. The Reverend prayed harder than he ever had. When the storm finally broke, it did so with fury. Rain fell not in sheets but in blows, striking roofs and skin like thrown gravel. The wind screamed through chimneys, forcing its way indoors, scattering ashes and snapping shutters from their hinges. The sea rose in towering, heaving swells, smashing boats against the rocks as though in anger. But it was the thunder that unnerved them most. It did not crash randomly. It came in measured intervals, like a knock upon a door. Boom. Pause. Boom. As if waiting to be answered. By morning, 3 villagers were dead. Not drowned, not crushed, but found in their homes, eyes wide, faces frozen in expressions of recognition. Each had been alone. Each had left their door unlatched. The storm did not pass. It lingered for 9 days. Food spoiled. Candles would not stay lit. Compasses spun uselessly, even indoors. Worse still, the storm learned. Each night, it grew more precise with its voices. It no longer called merely to the grieving, but to the guilty. A man who had stolen from his brother heard him weeping outside his window. A woman who had once let a child freeze on her doorstep heard soft knocking and the whisper, "Please." Confessions filled the church until the pews stank of sweat and terror. Reverend Crow found an old journal in the church crypt, written a century earlier by a priest whose hand grew more frantic with each page. It spoke of a storm summoned in desperation, called upon to punish sin, to cleanse a corrupt village. But